CEO and co-founder at Transcelestial. He's going to speak on securing humanity's future in ground and space using lasers and orbital data centers. Rohit, the floor is yours.
Awesome, thank you. Let me see. I think you need to stop sharing for me to be. Great,
Yeah,
fantastic.
I did. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Alex did a great job pitching my company, so maybe I don't need to anymore.
She did right.
No, I fully agree with her. Like, I think Elon's proved with Tesla that I think retail investors can be equal, if not more sophisticated in due diligence in certain areas, especially with the power of the internet. But of course, like you do still want institutional capital for scale up and just really raw horsepower. So where are we? We are the small people. So 6 years ago, I started the company in Singapore, trying to answer this dumb question: what are our civilization's long-term communication needs? And can you guys see the screen? Yep. All good.
Yep, we can.
Okay, great. So where did that question come from? The question came from looking at when most of the people say things are, oh, the trend that I'm working on is exponential. That's mostly wrong. Most of the trend that we see in our world is sigmoidal, or it's an S curve. The only two, I would say like two of the top exponential things in our lifetimes are energy and data usage. And that's what you're seeing in front. So this is something from before COVID. And what was happening was on a city scale and on a country scale, your data consumption for the community as a whole was doubling every 30 to 36 months. I've seen data in the past like 12 to 24 months, and now data is doubling almost on a 12-month period effectively. So whatever infrastructure you build in 3 to 4 years' time, it's just completely outdated. So we got to go back to basics. And we started looking at 6 years ago, satellites, the technologies that build our infrastructure for internet. Obviously, satellites do less than 1% of the total internet traffic. More than 99% goes through undersea cables and fiber optics cables and microwave. So both satellites and RF technology is more than 100 years old technology, and it's reached a limit of how much data it can really support. Spectrums are congested. You cannot cheat Shannon's law, and so you kind of have reached a limit of what you can do there. And of course, our cities are spending more and more money on trying to kind of build more fiber optics, but you cannot be Singapore, you cannot be Korea, you cannot be Tokyo. You cannot put fiber to every home and office. And so that's where you start to figure out why is more than half the world still underconnected or has crappy internet. So that's where we started looking at, we need the speed of fiber, but we need the economics and the capability of deploying it wirelessly. So this is not a new technology. It's why lasers were invented by Bell Labs in the 60s. But we created the fiber to carry it. And that's what powers internet to your homes, offices, 4G and 5G and the world around you. So we've taken that and we now run it through air. It sounds simple, but it's been a lot of work for us to get there. It's a lot of work to make sure the lasers accurately point and track, even sitting on buildings or on moving vehicles or satellites. You have to do active pointing and tracking. This huge amount of hardware and software AI development that goes into making that happen on commodity hardware, which is the only way for us to scale this commercially worldwide. So that was part one. Part two was when you take things out of the fiber, you're exposed to rain, haze, fog, snow, all kinds of weather effects, and that impact your data quality. And so we had to build capabilities which take those weather effects into factor and try to kind of keep the data consistency alive. And again, being headquartered in Singapore, we got amazing test data by rains every day for the last 5 years. So I would say like we are kind of battle tested to the extreme there. That's the team. So that's me and Dinesh. We started the company, and we have two extreme awesome people on our board. Bill He represents Wavemaker, and he used to be chairman for NTT International, which is NTT Data now, and used to run that company for a while. And Lewis, is ex-NASA veteran, ex-Airbus veteran, ran our last investment round from Airbus Ventures. As Alex said, like we are backed by InQtel, one of the earliest companies they backed in the Asia market, and a bunch of government investors from Singapore, including Singapore Defense, and some key super angels like Michael and Charlie. So that's our technology. It's the size of a shoebox. You'll see some photos later. This is capable of doing up to 40 gigabit per second, up to a distance of 3 kilometers. It's the fastest wireless technology in production today worldwide, and it's all being built in Singapore. Today, we have the world's largest manufacturing line making this technology in Singapore. It weighs less than 3 kilograms. It consumes power which is less than a light bulb, so you can use solar panel and battery packs to run it. But it can deliver capability which can power a small village or a small group of settlements easily on its own. That's our first business line. It's the majority of the work we do worldwide. We work with telcos, ISPs, enterprises to provide them the backbone internet for their operations, right? Whether that's for setting up cell towers for 4G and 5G, setting up broadband, campus connectivity, doing disaster recovery, ports, schools, hospitals. We have done tons of that, and a lot of temporary deployments. This is a great way. This is a great photo which shows how we kind of impact each and every part of a city building. And again, this is great because you don't need to dig and wait for permissions to put fiber in the ground. You don't need to look at rivers and seas and waterways and bridges and railways and stuff. As long as you can see the other side, you can shoot a laser and you can get people connected. Now, you've also been seeing some news like this where you're seeing a lot of issues in national security appear worldwide, where there's a lot of actors who are trying to disrupt peace. As a result, what is a side effect of a point-to-point laser communication technology is that it also has zero electronic signature and cannot be jammed or hacked in an active war situation or for national security purposes, unlike Starlink, unlike other RF technologies. And so we also have, the last 1 year, we have built a defense and intelligence arm. We do a lot of work for DoD in Singapore and its allies. The technology that we've built for Centauri, we have rapidly expanded on top of the 3 kilometer range, and we do up to 5 to 15 kilometers now for special use cases, going all the way up to 60-kilometer deployments. We also have very new custom terminals which can deliver connectivity to rapidly moving, fast-moving targets, whether that's on land, sea, or air. These are some examples. For confidentiality purposes, I can't show you actual photos of the devices, but effectively, we are doing secure telecom networks for Singapore, US, and wider Asia clients. We are just starting to embark on a lot of deployments on land and water comms, and very early days for long-range aerial comms for us. This is our global footprint. Home is Singapore for the moment. We do a lot of work in India, Australia, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines. And then most recently, 6 months ago, we started looking at US, where we work with all the 3 major telcos and a bunch of enterprise and government customers. This is a snapshot of the work we've done, connecting islands, connecting communities worldwide, restoring connectivity in Taiwan after the earthquake, and a bunch of other use cases. And that's our snapshot. As of today, we have I think we're probably the only company with the most experience in operationally running lasers. We have 1,000+ kilometers of lasers, lasers in production, and on a daily basis, we handle around 1.4 terabits of capacity for our customers. But that's not where things kind of stop. So you see a lot of issues today. We also see with all these mega constellations growing up with spectrum. They're great, but they're also not as fast as your home internet or your home 5G. So what gives? On the other hand, you're also seeing all these like undersea cables which are constantly being cut. And this impacts the region as a whole, actually. So that's where kind of like our ambitious project comes in. This is something we've been working towards from day one. So the idea here is to pick up data from areas like Singapore with massive undersea cable and data center capabilities and pull that capacity into orbit and then seed it with lasers directly into cities, towns, and villages. In the long term, we can match hundreds of gigabits and terabits that you find within a undersea cable, uh, and we can drop it directly from orbit into places. Oops, sorry. So if I let this run a little bit more, you'll see the first, we've been secretly testing our technology in orbit in the last 2 years. And what we are eventually building towards is what we call the ring. So any Lord of the Rings fans here. But what we are building is an equatorial LEO orbit network with Starlink-sized satellites. They will cover most of all of Southeast Asia, most of India, going all the way a big portion of the Gulf states, all of Africa, and most of Latam and South America. So in this region, we'll be able to not only pick up and drop high bandwidths of data without spectrum, but also store compute directly in orbit, as our satellites are data centers as well. So that's our final piece of the puzzle. We are selling crosslinks today. So if you are sending a satellite up, or you can include one of these. We are selling these today, but in the future, these will be free to pick up. And these are capable of creating a network between your satellites, or they can talk to our optical ground stations. We'll release a map of these within the next 1 year worldwide. But eventually, what we are looking at is building data centers in orbit. Our first partner is Axiom Space. And these crosslinks can actually connect to the nearest data center in orbit. And you can use that for storage, compute, and AI capabilities directly. So we're doing a bunch of these projects this year, next year, and hopefully make some of that public soon. That's it. This is a $2.5 trillion industry, one of the largest in space. Actually, not one of the, it is the largest industry in space. And we are looking at around 20 to 30% of the market at scale. So today we are raising around 4 million we are relocating the company from Singapore to US primary. And we have a bunch of projects lined up there. And 40% has been taken internally for a 4 million round, and the remaining is now being committed with external checks. And I'm very excited with the kind of like amazing angels like Alex has put together on the angel list. These are awesome people who would help us build networks worldwide. And the big chunk of our introductions have always come from our most active angels. So I'm quite keen to kind of explore that. And finally, for those who are doing business in the Gulf, some of our space network is aimed at using the Gulf as a low latency global gateway, so landing station for our optical network in orbit, because of the clear weather conditions that we have in the Gulf. We also want to use that as an alternative and give that as an alternative to the undersea cables, which are constantly under attack in that region. And it also would help bring a lot of startups to that area with access to high compute, high capability, high bandwidth, which is at cheap prices. We are also very excited to kind of work with
Rohit,
a bunch of construction phase projects today. Yep.
You have like 2 minutes to go, please. So
Yeah,
be
I'm
brief.
done actually. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, and that's it. So that's the last one. So there's many ambitious projects happening not only in Saudi, this is one example, but also I know in Dubai and other places. We're keen to kind of explore the Gulf market. It's an area which is unexplored for us. Would love to work with interested parties. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Rohit.